What's up, guys? Back for another video here today, and today we're going to be doing a video on the worst NFL free agent moves in 2020. There were some terrible ones. I could say a couple. Chances are they're going to be in here. Especially, I would say probably two of them are on the Bears. Thank the Lord. But anyway, let's get into this video.
Free agency period appears to be on its tail end as most general managers are beginning to turn their eyes towards the draft. And although there are still a few NFL free agency decisions to be made, for the most part, I've seen what I have to see to make a list of the absolute 10 worst moves that I've seen this past offseason. Before we get to this list, guys, if you are new to the channel but you love football content, please take a moment to drop a like.
Subscribe, man. Go subscribe.
Also turn on notifications to make sure you never miss an upload during the springtime. In addition to that, I have an Instagram page if you want to follow that, and I also have a soccer channel and an NBA channel as well. Furthermore, feel free to make any suggestions for
check those
future
out.
uploads in the comment section down below. And also, before we get started, bear in mind that these decisions include trades as well. Anything that has occurred in the free agency period is fair game. So at number 10, we're going to start with the Bears trading a 4th-round pick to the Jaguars.
This is one of them. This is one of the Bears. Nothing against Nick Foles. Nothing against him. I just don't think it's going to pan out. I don't think this is a good trade. I think if I was the Bears, I would have went. It's hard to say because knowing me in rebuilds, I always go for the younger guy. I think I would have probably kept Trubisky. Obviously, you still have him, so it's not like you lost him. But keep him as a starter. Obviously, bringing in Nick Foles does give him, say, hey, snap out of it. If you don't pan out, we got somebody to replace you. I think that does help out the young buck and actually makes him want to work even harder. And hey, if he doesn't pan out, hopefully Nick Foles can. In my opinion, I'd rather he not, but hey.
Jacksonville Jaguars for Nick Foles. Now, don't get me started on Jacksonville's side of this because their organization in a whole is completely in disarray after having a promising 2017 NFL season, but I'm talking about the Bears' decision to make this trade because they are only 3 years removed from trading up to draft Mitchell Trubisky, who, don't get me wrong, hasn't been the most consistent player, but for the most part, he has been showing that he is capable, and he did have a good sophomore season before slumping in the 2019 NFL season. Nevertheless, the front office of the Chicago Bears thought it was necessary to go ahead and trade for probably the most expensive backup in all of football, just in case Trubisky doesn't work out. If you're trying to find a way to completely shatter the confidence of the man that you invested a number 2 overall draft pick in just 3 years prior, this is a surefire way of doing that. I don't understand the purpose of this decision. If it's to mentor Mitchell Trubisky, then Nick Foles is way too overpriced. So for the most part, we can assume that the Chicago Bears are trying to bring in Nick Foles to eventually become the starter. I just don't understand why they would do this. Trubisky is still on a rookie scale contract. You could be investing this type of capital and putting better pieces around him. I just don't understand why the Bears would make this decision. At number 9, we have the Bills trading for Stephon Diggs as they gave up a 1st rounder, 4th rounder, 5th rounder, and 6th round draft pick in.
I don't think this is a shitty deal. I don't think it is. At least for the Vikings standpoint. Obviously, they had to trade him, but I think it's a win-win. I don't know why, but I like Diggs is like a player that I do like. Yeah, he was a Viking, I should say, but he was a good player. And I think that that Bills team's gonna be really nice next year with him on the team. And the stuff they got out of the Bills are pretty nice too. It's a really heavy receiving class. So they got that number 22 pick of this year. I got a 5th round pick this year and a 6th round pick and a 4th round pick next year. So they got, and then hey, who knows what they use at 22nd pick on? It could be a receiver. Who knows? But yeah, I think it's a good trade for both sides.
In order to attain him. Now, I'm saying this is on the Bills side of things, not so much on the Minnesota Vikings, because Stephon Diggs wanted out of Minnesota.
Yeah.
He didn't seem that willing to make it work with Mike Zimmer and Kirk Cousins, so he wanted out and he got his wish. But my issue with this isn't the trade in itself, it's rather the amount of capital the Buffalo Bills gave up in order to acquire Stephon Diggs. You see, I've said this in many videos in the past, this NFL draft is notorious for having a tremendous amount of wide receiver talent. Off the top of my head, CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy, Henry Ruggs all pop into mind, but Mel Kiper went ahead and said that there can be as many as 7 wide receivers taken within the first 45 picks of the NFL draft. So I would have liked to see the Buffalo Bills try to move up in the draft potentially to get the help that Josh Allen needs, as opposed to giving up a lot of draft capital in order to bring in a very expensive wide receiver that is proven but extremely expensive. Nonetheless,
Yeah, he is expensive, but we know he panned out. That's the one thing also. You can take a risk on a receiver in the draft. Not saying they won't pan out, but what happens if they don't pan out? You lose out on trying to get somebody like a Diggs or something like that. But yeah, it is more of an expensive side of the deal, but I think it will pan out for the Bills.
I still think that Stephon Diggs fills in a huge need for the Buffalo Bills, but I just feel like the Bills could have filled in the wide receiver position significantly more efficiently than the way they did. At number 8, we have the Cincinnati Bengals franchise tagging AJ Green and paying him $18 million at his age 30.
Yeah, obviously the money is obviously the one thing. I kind of like the tag. I wish he could have went somewhere else, but I understand why he's still there. To help out the young buck. Joe Burrow, chances obviously definitely going to be number 1. I think everybody knows that. It's obviously a no-brainer. But yeah, paying him about $18 million for I think his age 34 season as a receiver. When the receivers get up into those age, they don't really pan out much anymore. Hey, some do, some do. So I'm not going to really give a, say, oh, they don't. But, hey, we'll see. I think it's another down year for the Bengals, but, whatever.
Season.
But they are getting better.
Don't get me wrong, AJ Green is a great player. Without a doubt, he's a Hall of Fame player, but for the most part, if you look at his statistics when he even was
questionable
on the field, ever since that game he had against the Jacksonville Jaguars and Jalen Ramsey back in 2017, he clearly hasn't been the same player. Now, of course, he has had some injury issues, and you could also point a finger at the fact that the culture that the Cincinnati Bengals have created in the Marvin Lewis era wasn't the most competitive. Nonetheless, this is a 32-year-old wide receiver.
32,
I don't understand paying him $18 million. Once again, this is a very deep draft for the wide receiver position. And although the Cincinnati Bengals are slated to select Joe Burrow with the number 1 overall pick, they could easily look at wide receiver with the number 33 pick, which I'm sure that they are going to. I just think that this money spent on AJ Green was better off
Yeah, there's an ad here, so besides this ad. But yeah, I think it, a little overpaid for AJ Green at the age that he is, but obviously I guess we'll see what happens, but yeah. We'll see. All right. I forgot to click.
I just think that this money spent on AJ Green was better off saved for other improvements that could have been made for the Bengals. But once again, the front office of the Cincinnati Bengals isn't notorious for making great football decisions, and this just appears to be
well, this year they did some good
signings.
At
number 7, we have the Houston Texans signing Randall Cobb for 3 years and $27 million, which, by the way, I'm very happy for Randall Cobb for getting this contract, but this is a guy that's had one 1,000-yard receiving season in his entire career. He hasn't really...
Well, the one thing is one thing about Randall Cobb, obviously, I know of, is he's not that type of guy to be like, okay, I'm coming into this team to be the number 1, to be the one to get a 1,000-yard season. He's more, I feel like when you think of Randall Cobb, he's more of a guy that wants to help out the other receivers that are there. He might be used more like, a number 1 or a number 2 that actually be like, okay, you're getting the ball. But in my opinion, like as a Packer fan, I've always thought Randall Cobb was that type of guy at least when we had like Jordy Nelson, him and Devontae, he was more of a guy setting up the others for big plays, I feel like. But I guess he's a little overpaid for what he does as a receiver. But yeah.
Been that dominant type of player since 2015, and even then you could say that he was a product of Aaron Rodgers during that year. Now, he would have been a great player to add to your roster for significantly less, and he definitely isn't going to mitigate the disaster of a trade that the Houston Texans made by shipping away DeAndre Hopkins to the Arizona
I think it's
Cardinals.
funny they're only
Randall
showing
Cobb
Packer
cannot
ones.
be a number one wide receiver, and that's why he is here at number 7. Up next, I have the Jacksonville Jaguars trying to maintain a sliver of their culture from the past by franchise tagging Yannick Ngakoue. Now, look, Yannick Ngakoue is a phenomenal talent, and I understand why you would want to keep him, but there is no chance that this guy is going to stay with Jacksonville past this year. It's not like keeping him is going to do anything for your culture after you completely dismantled the pieces that made your franchise successful. Gone is Jalen Ramsey, AJ Boye, Calais Campbell, and Marcel
that
Darius.
defense is
Gone is
getting
Malik
teared apart.
Jackson. And for the most part, gone is that team that would be able to carry you to an AFC championship in a year where the Patriots don't seem to be the most threatening team in the AFC. Now, of course, maybe
Come on,
the Jaguars
Mariota.
could find a way to trade Yannick to some other team where he would be happy playing for him. But this just seems like the Jaguars are going through a tough breakup and they're having difficulty fully letting go. The Saxonville Jaguars are gone. Yannick is the final piece from that era, and I guess the Jaguars are doing whatever they could to maintain
He's a
him.
young piece.
At
I
number
could see
5,
it.
we have the Chicago Bears signing Robert Quinn for 5 years and $70 million. Holy smokes. If there's any
I forgot about this signing. But it makes me laugh every time I hear it. You paid. I'm not saying he's a bad player, but oh my God. You should have just kept Floyd. You should have literally just kept Floyd at that point. But oh my God, you paid this man so much money for the age that this man is at that I don't think he'll play like he used to in his younger age. Plus, in my opinion, I don't feel like he played that good in his younger age either. But hey, Bears still suck.
thing I've learned from free agency over the past couple of years, it's the power of the prove it deal. And Robert Quinn really proved himself on this 1-year deal with the Dallas Cowboys, notching 11.5 sacks and 8 assisted
but still.
tackles for a combined 34 tackles. Now, he was always a fairly productive player. For the Miami Dolphins, he put up 6.5 sacks, and for the Rams, he was a double-digit sack guy in the beginning of his career, at least from
Okay, maybe he was
2012 to
good. I didn't really watch
2014.
much of him.
Signing him now that he's 29 years old for the next 5 years,
Oh my
chances
God.
are you're going to be getting that guy that could give you 6.5 to 8.
Yeah, like I could see that like a good 3-year deal or like I can't even see more than 3, but 5. You're telling me you want to put all your money into, chances are, a guy that's still going to be on the team at 45 or 44 year, like his end of his contract is when he's 40 or 100 or 34. Like, that's just crazy. Like, this was terrible. And we're not even to the Jimmy Graham one yet. Oh, my God.
Sacks. But
If it's even on
I'm
this
sure
list.
the Chicago Bears are just trying to find Khalil Mack some additional help on the other side,
That's
and
not-
they're trying to double down on their identity as a defensive team that succeeds at pressuring the quarterback.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, I feel like there was a significantly cheaper way of doing this, and I do not believe you will get your full return on investment by paying Robert Quinn for 5 years and paying him $70 million. Now up next, I have the Houston Texans making a very strange move, signing a player that I personally have never heard of for 3 years and $20 million, and that's safety Eric.
I've heard of him. I never, like, obviously because I do rebuilds, I know Eric Murray. But I don't think the Houstons are in like a stupid situation right now. Like, they need to fire that coach right now and everybody that's in that front office, because, oh my God, the stuff they've done this offseason is terrible.
Eric Murray. If there's one thing I've learned about the NFL in recent past, it's the fact that it's not really worth investing in the safety position unless if you got a player of Tyrann Mathieu or Earl Thomas on your hands. Now, even in those situations, in my opinion, the safety position is more of a luxury position to upgrade, and the Texans have holes all over their roster after making some questionable moves over the past year. So this signing is a slight overpay, and I have this signing up here really high because the Texans just keep digging a deeper and deeper hole and continuing to prove to us that Bill O'Brien is not a competent general manager. At number 3, I have the Chicago Bears signing Jimmy Graham for 2 years and
I was waiting for it. It's sad when your free agency is literally on the worst free agent moves of 2020. I don't know how many signings the Bears have done, but they have done 3 different bad signings. Like, I say something about Jimmy Graham. He had some terrible games, but he did do some nice stuff for the Packers. But oh my God, a 2-year deal worth $16 million, $9 million per year. That is just stupid by the Bears. But hey, whatever. Maybe it pans out, but I don't think it does.
And this is just up here because no matter what, Jimmy Graham is still capitalizing upon his success from earlier in his career as a New Orleans Saint and from that 1 year that he succeeded with the Seattle Seahawks. He has not been a good tight end for many, many years, and he's notorious for dropping wide open passes and not being that game-changing red zone threat that he once was 10 years ago anymore. I do not understand why the Chicago Bears would go ahead and sign him, but they did, and although it's not that much of an overpay, it still puzzles me that the Bears would give this guy a contract. At number 2, I have the Miami Dolphins signing Eric Flowers for 3 years and $30 million. Now, you need to understand, I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan, and I am absolutely surprised that Eric Flowers is still in the league.
This guy's terrible. This guy is, I would say, one of the worst tackles I've ever freaking seen. And I don't pay attention to tackles that much, but this man is a hell of a bust where he got picked. And for the money that this fucker got to be, like, it's the Miami Dolphins. What do you expect? They made some good signings. I won't say something about Miami Dolphins. They're looking better. They're getting better. They're obviously probably going for the quarterback for their draft pick this year. And their future's looking bright. But, yeah, that was terrible. That was a terrible signing. Way overpaid.
Whenever we would face the New York Giants, I would get excited whenever Eric Flowers was in the game because he would give up easy sacks consistently. I personally believe that this is the guy that completely ended Eli Manning's career. I feel like Eric Flowers took off a good 3 years from Eli Manning's career just from poor protection.
Look at this,
but nonetheless, he did move over to guard, and he did improve slightly, but I still don't understand.
Well, yeah, because you don't have to take the outside.
$10 million a year to protect the quarterback or to try to dominate in the running game. It completely
go get your money, man, but you're terrible.
I'm still in disbelief that the Dolphins would pay him this much.
God damn.
Which means the number one most terrible move.
This one right here. I'm pretty sure he's talking about this one because he wouldn't show it for no apparent reason. Obviously, let's wait for a minute.
I have seen in this entire offseason, and this should come as no shock to anybody, is the Houston Texans.
This trade will go down of the most stupidest trades of all time. I'm saying this right now. This trade right here will go down in the most shittiest, terrible trades that Houston's ever done. They're trading a top 3. I could even say, I'm not going to say it that much, but I could say he's a number 1 best receiver in the league. At least top 3. In anybody's standards. If he's not top 3 in your standards, I don't know what you're thinking. But they literally just traded this sucker away for a running back. Since his injury, his knee injury, has not been the same. And a 7th round pick and a 4th round pick. Or no, sorry. Oh yeah, that's what they get. Yeah. And this is a stupid, terrible trade. I don't know why this was ever like. This man had to. This this front office had to be drinking something if they were doing this trade. Cause he did. It wasn't like, oh, he requested a trade. He didn't request a trade. This is just a shit that went down. I couldn't believe it when I saw it first. I couldn't. But hey, for the Arizona Cardinals, this is a major W. Cause you get one of the best receivers in the league, but and obviously a 4th-round pick this year. But you know, it's just
trading DeAndre Hopkins for David Johnson. I ran this trade through my head over and over and over again, and for the life of me, I cannot make sense out of it. For the life of me, it still just shocks me that the Houston Texans would just trade DeAndre Hopkins for a halfback that's past his prime when they could have easily got running back help in the NFL draft. You could have signed Todd Gurley. You could have waited a couple days and pretty much got the same exact type of player, the running back that once dominated
Imagine
the NFL,
that.
that is currently dealing with some injury issues and is a shell of his former self in Todd Gurley. And that's nothing against Todd Gurley. It's just they dramatically overpaid by trading away a player that is a top 3 wide receiver in the entire NFL for David Johnson. And I could go on and on. I have a video about this. It still doesn't make sense to me. And it's just such a shame because I feel like I'm watching Deshaun Watson's career getting completely wasted away in Houston. And
yeah, that's pretty much the end of the video. But yeah, what's the worst trade or signing this offseason for you? Put it down in the comments. If you enjoy these kind of videos, give it a like. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.